So yes, I'm Brooke Mills, CEO and co-founder of Astraea Technologies, and I also have my wonderful business partner, Gordon Carroll, with me as well, also co-founder and CTO. Just acknowledging that we are on the incredible Gadigal land here tonight and just acknowledging elders past, present, and emerging. And I feel so inspired by the people who came before us, and they are the first scientists and astronomers, and the way that they view the world is really inspirational to me, and we reflect on it quite a lot in our business about slowing down and paying attention to what our cosmos is trying to tell us. So just acknowledging elders past, present, and emerging, and feeling very thankful to be from the observatory today. So we are Astraea Technologies, and our tagline here is that we develop innovative technological solutions for human healthcare in extreme environments. So we aim to prioritize human healthcare in space. We have a lot of other on-Earth applications that we could be talking to you about, but we will focus on the space element tonight because, of course, it's why we're all here. We're enthusiastic about space and thinking about when humans get back out into space beyond low Earth orbit, which is where we've been existing primarily for the last 20 years. We've got the Artemis missions that are prioritizing getting boots back on the moon. We've got Elon Musk out there thinking about us, terraforming Mars and all of that kind of thing. And that's all great. That's all well and good. And, putting together the technology and those kinds of things to get us back there and potentially living over there is one thing, but taking care of our people while we're in these extreme environments, like transit to the moon, living on the moon, transiting to Mars, it's chaotic out there. And we don't want people just surviving while they're there. We want them to be able to access as good a healthcare as if they were to walk into a Sydney hospital. So what our vision and mission is to really think about what challenges they will be facing on these longer duration missions, and what healthcare we can put in place specifically for use in space. So of course, we have, lots of diagnostic equipment and that type of thing that we can use here on Earth, but it's large, it's heavy, and we know that when we send payloads up, we're trying to decrease weight. So what are all the different ways that we can, think about miniaturizing this type of thing, how we're going to get it into space, how you can use it in microgravity. And then in particular, which I'll get to in a minute, which is our main focus at the moment, what about the things that they're ingesting, right? So at the moment, they're having, the space food, and people are thinking about that at the moment, but we also need to think about the things that they're ingesting, the things that are going into their body to optimize themselves for survival. So as humanity prepares for long duration missions beyond low Earth orbit, missions to Moon and Mars, we're facing a critical challenge. So ensuring that the efficacy of life-saving medications and durable healthcare equipment. Historically, missions have been short. I'm going to go through some data with you in a minute, which I hope you will appreciate because I'm a big data nerd. But with multi-year missions on the horizon, we have to guarantee human healthcare remains safe and effective. So we are focusing, first things first, on radiation. So we know that up at low Earth orbit, we're still within our magnetosphere. But the second that we get outside of our magnetosphere, we are bombarded, humans and all of the equipment and biologicals that are going to be going with them, are bombarded by huge amounts of radiation. So cosmic galactic rays, solar energy particles, and then just the everyday, normal radiation out there. So we need to start thinking about how our healthcare products are going to be affected by this. Are they going to degrade? Are they going to be as efficient? In an emergency, are they going to be able to detect and diagnose the same way that they do here on Earth? So radiation is our first major problem that we're currently trying to tackle and what we're currently seed raising for. So the way that we view radiation when it comes to Astraea is if you were to send a bowling ball straight down in to knock all over the pins, that's exactly what radiation does to a lot of these biologicals and man-made materials that are going to be sent up into space. So here's my little data that I absolutely love. So if we think about when we've sent humans up into space in the past, we've had the Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, and International Space Station up there. Mercury did 6 flights, with the longest flight being 34 hours. Gemini had 10 flights, with the longest flight being 13 days. Apollo had 11 flights, with the longest flight being 12 days, and that actually made it outside of our magnetosphere. That's when we actually got to the lunar surface. Then we've had the ISS, which is 127 missions. We've had approximately 400 or so astronauts up there. The longest day is 374 days, but that's still only at LEO. So if we're going to think about humans going beyond that, our Artemis missions, they're planning for humans to be on the lunar surface for 30 plus days. Mars missions, if we were to take off, fly to Mars, put our feet down, get back on the plane, on the rocket, and then come back, we're looking at 2 years minimum, right? So most of our pharmaceuticals these days don't have a shelf life beyond 12 months. You can't resupply to Mars, so we need to look at extending our pharmaceuticals. We need to look at how much they're degrading in that time due to that radiation. So when I actually pulled up this data and had a look at it, I was like, I'm freaking out now that we're going to be planning these missions where we're putting humans out there, and statistically, like, we've, exposed them to the tiniest little amounts. So one of the first things that I actually did was I went over to the European Space Agency in June this year, and I met with the head of space medicine over there. And he was such an incredible guy, spoke to me so much about how they take care of their astronauts up on the ISS at the moment, what protocols and levels of healthcare and things like that they get, which is incredible. But when I started asking them about, well, okay, but you're involved in Artemis, you're thinking about future human missions, what are you doing to think about these longer duration missions? And he was like, well, very little, because we're so focused on keeping our humans alive on the International Space Station at the moment and training up our new astronauts that we're not even really thinking about these things. And that, to me, was absolutely terrifying. So I came back from that completely inspired. Gordon had already developed the concept that I'm going to go through with you tonight, focusing on radiation, but we've got so many other technologies now in the pipeline, from a couple of simple conversations that I had over in the UK and Europe, that just really made me realize that we need to be prioritizing this, because there's a good amount of research that needs to go into it and clinical trials that need to happen. And if this is going to happen in the next 10 years, we need to be starting now. So these are our goals at the moment for leading to 2030. So we want to pioneer research, so develop and deploy technology to LEO and eventually the Moon and Mars to study how cosmic radiation impacts pharmaceuticals and materials. We want to have data-driven solutions. So not only do we want to have that data, but we want to be able to do a bunch of modeling and things like that to then put the right technologies into place. We don't want to send any humans up there based on modeling alone. We just want it to inform the next research that we take on. One of the biggest things, and I love what Wayne said earlier about the fact that, well, now there's 3 businesses in Sydney that are able to talk tonight. Australia has such incredible scientific and engineering capabilities. Huffo, if you want to come and stay with Mummy, you can come and stand at Mummy's feet. You just have to be quiet, okay? We've got such incredible talent here that it's not just about Astraea and what we can develop and holding all of our IP and that kind of thing. We want to collaborate with other people in Australia so that we can create some true sovereignty when it comes to Australia's participation in becoming, a globally recognized asset to the space industry. And one of the reasons why I choose to bring my little boy along with me is I spent my entire career until I was the age of 30 and then decided to go and do an astrophysics degree. But I thought I could never work in space. Everyone always told me when I was in school and at uni that I had to go to NASA and I had to, get a green card, and that was impossible and all of that kind of thing. We want to inspire and lead. I bring Raf along to these things because I wish I had had that for me. He's got a curious little mind, and I'm sure that there's other people out there, and we really want to forge the way for other businesses and ideas and research and things like that of our next generation coming through. So it really does put Australia on the map in terms of our space capability. So going back to radiation. This is Hero Lab. Now, I will note this is an AI generated version. I can't share our actual thing for all of the, IP and all of that kind of thing, but this is essentially what it's going to look like. So what we've done is we have partnered with the Advanced Manufacturing Readiness Facility to build our hardware. So they're going to be doing all of our radiation shielding and things like that. And we've also partnered with Fraunhofer, based over in Germany, to build a miniaturized spectrophotometer. So there will be an open part of Hero Lab. Now, noting Hero Lab is 10 centimeters by 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters. It is tiny. So we can put it on satellites, we can put it on anything that's going up into space, and that can integrate with some comms and power. And it can be doing any type of degradation testing on a sample. So what we'll have is a quartz cuvette with a sample either in solid, powdered, or liquid form, and we'll have our spectrophotometer there measuring in real time and sending binary data packs back to us on Earth via relay, so that we can have a look at the degradation of whatever it is that we've chosen to send up there. So at the moment, like I said, we've been focusing on pharmaceuticals. So looking at how paracetamol, how ibuprofen, how anti-nausea medication like ondansetron degrade in radiation, but also to looking at some dosimetry as well, because we don't understand the radiation and what the levels and things like that are outside of BLEO. That's right, darling. Yeah, good job. So this is our little technology. We're working on a second version at the moment, which is a little more quantum adjacent, so we can do a bit more of a in-depth analysis. But what we're hoping to achieve is not only understanding the degradation profiles of the pharmaceuticals, but we've also partnered with the University of South Australia's Centre for Pharmaceutical Innovation, so that we can also provide recommendations on how that, based on knowing what's been done to it from a degradation perspective, then we can also have a look at how we would fortify it. So do we have to use additional compounds to protect it from degrading? Does it actually degrade into something that's beneficial? And if we were to add something into it, that's going to extend shelf life. We've got a PhD student down there who is going to be conducting all of this research and providing all of these recommendations, so that pharmaceutical companies or anyone who's going to be sending things up into space and they want to understand how it degrades, so that they can maybe put together maintenance replacements and things like that. We can provide that. We don't just give them the data, we also give the recommendations on fortifying it. And eventually, once enough revenue comes in, we'll have our own labs and manufacturing there as well. So we can also work with our customers on the fortification process or resilience process for them, so they don't need to do it themselves. So here's where we're at right now. Next month, Astraea is celebrating its 12-month anniversary. So we are still in our first year. It is brand new. Gordon and I are both wearing a lot of makeup at the moment because we're both so tired from how hard we've been working. But 2025 really has been our year for doing a massive deep dive, understanding the industry, understanding what the humans' needs are out there, understanding what missions are coming up that are actually going to require our research and our recommendations, so that we can have timelines for when we need to have these things done by. So that's been this year. Next year, we're actually commencing Earth-based testing of APIs, so the active pharmaceutical ingredients, so we can look at the raw data of like pure paracetamol, pure ibuprofen, like pure ondansetron, so that we have really strong degradation profiles. So when our customers start coming to us to test their products, we understand what the API does, and then also how the additional compounds that they've included in their product affect it as well. So the Earth-based testing is going to be on simulated space radiation data at ANSTO and ANU, so that we can get the full spectrum of radiation testing. It's Gordon, sorry, help me out here for a second. It's the Heavy Ion Accelerator at ANU. Yeah. And we're using the Antares equipment down at ANSTO to conduct that testing. So by June next year, we're going to have all of our initial data, which is very exciting. 2027, we're in the process at the moment of signing MOUs with a couple of different companies to ride share and send ourselves to the moon, which is exciting. And then 2028, yes, you can, my baby. And then 2028, we plan to have a full suite of the 88 current pharmaceuticals that they have on the ISS certified and ready for space use at lunar surface. And we also have a couple of tech things in the pipeline that, if you know, I could talk about them forever, but I'd focus solely on Hero Lab to keep it short tonight. So I will open it up for any questions. Thank you for your patience with my little ones chit chat through, but all of that QR code will send you straight to our website, which has all of our information. And of course, if you want to reach out and chat to us more, we're always happy to chat, and coffee, beer, whatever, lunch, come and talk to us, and we'd love to tell you more about what we do. Questions? Yes.
I have a question as to like how many, have you like picked out the drugs that you think are particularly important that are like you can't do without?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
It's like, how many is that? Is that
88?
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, 88. So, just a small number. But yeah, so basically what I did is I just compiled all of the data of the missions that I showed before. So what they took on all of these missions, and also what's currently on the ISS.
Yeah.
How to look at them, how to look at how often they use them, how to look at, what small amount of astronaut data is available to say, what were the most used ones and how often they supply them and that kind of thing. But it's 88 because they all kind of do slightly different things. And of course, just like here, you can buy Nurofen or you can buy NeuroZen or whatever it is. Like there's going to be a couple of different versions. So 88 is how many we want to have tested before we go to the moon in 2027. So it's ambitious, but I think doable. And that's just pharmaceuticals. We've got a lot of other things that we want to be testing out as well. If you think about when they need to give you a blood transfusion, like all of the polymers and things like that, and testing all of not just pharmaceuticals, but also those like the healthcare, the supplies. Yeah, that's exactly right. So 88 is just the pharmaceuticals. Sky's the limit in terms of who's interested in actually working with us. Yeah. Clyde.
Again, particular types of radiation that you suspect will affect drones more than others? Kind of broad spectrum.
Yeah, it's pretty broad spectrum, because also too, like if you think about it, that like cosmic galactic rays, they're pretty like ever present. Yeah, you've got it. They're ever present, whereas those like solar particle events. It's a dirty. Oh, that's Gordy's phone.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, sure.
I can't hear.
So sorry, the question was, do we expect for different types of radiation to have more or less of an effect in degradation? That's the question, right? Yeah. So I think we're, and the problem that we have as well is, and I'm just thinking out loud here because that's a really great question. The problem that we also have is that with the solar particle events, they're fairly like spontaneous and sporadic as well. So that's why we wanted to do the Earth-based testing, even though it's simulated first, just because they're probably going to be the ones that are going to give the biggest like bowling ball. So we want to have tested for that. So I guess that we've optimized a product for the worst of the worst. And then at least for anything kind of lower level, it's still optimized. It will also, it depends on the type of radiation as well, whether it's like protons or neutrons, and we're starting to get outside of my realm from a scientific perspective. So I'll get Gordy to weigh in.
Yeah, with that, so we're doing like the cosmic rays solar.
Yeah, do you want to come up here? I'll hand over to Gordy because he's my science
technical side of things. But yes, we are doing. Am I in? Yeah, I guess so. So we are doing solar particle events, galactic cosmic rays. Heavy ions is something of unique interest to us because we're talking about gold is the heaviest thing that we will see in space that causes damage to electronics, let alone the damage to organic materials. Thermal is also a very fascinating thing that we're looking at because it kind of compounds everything. You can look at radiation alone, you can look at thermal alone, but once you combine the two together, thermal impacts them in some ways, and then the radiation will impact it in other ways. So these are all things that we can simulate on the ground to quite a high level. Of course, you're not going to get the same validation that you are in space, which is why we do that validation flight in space. Okay, and what sort of AI implementation you mentioned on accelerators that for testing radiation? Yeah, that's a great question. So currently, we're not really with this primary thing. We're just getting a baseline for it. But once we can once we get these baselines and we start getting more data, not just from accelerators but from space, we are going to use a large language model to take all that data and also help us see the graphs and see the trends ourselves, so that eventually our goal is we know the radiation levels of a certain point. We know more or less how that or some of the organic compounds in that drug are going to react, and from there you can plug it into some sort of large language model or some algorithm, and that will give you what you can potentially do to help your product. Do you have access to data? Yes, there has only been one mission. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. Sorry, yeah. Do you have access to data from international missions on pharmaceutical degradation? Yes, we do. There has only been one mission that went to the ISS, and those results came out last October for the first people to see it, and that was on ibuprofen. That was inside versus outside the ISS, and that's kind of where a lot of these ideas were validated, because we saw on the outside there was 33 to 60% of the ibuprofen, the active ingredient, was degraded. So we thought, well, if that's in the ISS, that's 400 kilometers up. How's that going to react once we actually exit the magnetosphere?
Yes.
And it's a little scary to think. There's also one other student company that is located in Latvia, so quite literally the opposite side of the world. They're the only other people that are looking at this. Again, they're looking low Earth orbit, so we work very closely with them. And we kind of share data back and forth when we get it. So yes, there's not a lot of research. That's also something that we're really passionate about, is building this network of research for the future as well. Do we have any other questions? I think that's it.
Well, one last. This will be the last one. We've actually got three speakers, and I don't want to.
Have you considered doing tests with like VADA so they can bring the samples back? Obviously,
yes. So
Repeat.
yes, repeat the question. Yes. So he asked, are we looking to do any collaborations with VADA so they can bring the samples back? So for a return mission. Now, the design of the Hero Lab primarily is for these deep space missions. Because it's so small, we know we're going to get very rudimentary data back with the spectrophotometer. But from there, it means we don't need a return sample, which is very nice money-wise if we're going deep space. We would like to do lower return flights, and that is something we are talking with VADA about, because then we don't need a Hero Lab per se. We just need a little sample put up there. We can take it back and do high analysis on it. But VADA is mainly making pharmaceuticals in the low Earth orbit. So there's alignment in the pharmaceutical side, but in the actual testing, we're talking with them to see if we can actually test their stuff once it's been made, because maybe we don't know if those organic compounds are going to be stronger or not. So yeah. Thank you.